What's up, everybody? Welcome to my review of the Paige Pierce Lucid Convict from Dynamic Discs. Big thank you to Dynamic Discs for sponsoring this review. I appreciate their support. I actually reached out to Paige via Facebook and asked her if she would be interested in sponsoring the review for one once they hit the market, but that was before they actually got released. We just knew they were coming. They weren't actually out yet, and she was cool, totally into it, and told me that, she'll get back in touch with me once they got released. But once that happened, I didn't feel like bugging her about it, and I have some contacts at DD already, so I kind of just went with them. But I still wanted to give her a shout out and credit where it's due for being willing to work with me on a review. I'm a big fan of Paige. I've liked her for a long time. Her form is just picture perfect. Her snap is insane. I love just watching her throw. She puts such great energy on the disc and such accurate, smooth lines out there. It's just really fun to watch her throw. She's one of my favorite pros out there, and I was happy to get a new signature disc from her. You guys might have, if you've been around a really long time, you might remember my Paige Pierce Stalker review. That was one of my earlier reviews here, and 140 or so discs later, here comes another Paige Pierce signature disc review. So let's take a look at it. Dynamic Disc, Signature Edition, Convict, Paige Pierce, 3-time world champion. There's her little logo there with the PGA number. Look at the flight numbers on this guy. 9.4 and 0.5, negative 0.5 and 3. I would put those pretty dead on. The glide's pretty good. I don't think anybody would argue with a glide 5 there, but as we know, just a basic guideline. Don't take them too seriously. This particular Lucid, I might have a little bit of trouble getting it to come up on camera, but has some swirliness to it, a little bit of like reddish swirl going on in this plastic there. You can kind of see it better on that angle without the glare. Really beautiful disc. Has a little bit more flexibility than your average Lucid disc, perhaps, which I really like. What's the weight on this guy? 170 grams on this disc. Got a really nice, slightly more flexible feel, which I like. The grip feels great, and I dig it. Lucid plastic, well documented on the channel. Super durable, bright colors, and a great blend of grip and durability. Very true flights that'll last a long time. We'll take a look at this guy. Pretty flat across the top, and here's your look at the rim profile. So, this disc is often, the Convict is often compared to the Latitude 64 Culverin. This is one out of my bag, and let's put them up next to each other so you can get an idea of the differences. Now, to my eye, there's a definite difference in the top, but the bottom looks very similar. I would not be surprised if it is the same bottom mold for both of these discs with then a different top mold. I've done a lot of testing for both of these now. I've been throwing the Culverin for quite a while since I reviewed that. Let's give it one more look side by side. I've been carrying the Culverin for a while, ever since I reviewed it. It's been in my bag. I've tested these back to back. You can see a little bit sharper for the Culverin, but the underside looks super similar. Hopefully that's coming through. Testing them back to back, trying to get a feel for the differences in flight, and it's quite difficult to explain. Everybody out there, we're not always going to throw exactly the same way, even if it's 2 throws back to back. There's going to be some variation in there, especially with somebody like me. I'm not a pro. I'm always working on my throw, so a lot of times when I'm out there doing field testing, not only am I testing a disc, but I'm trying to work on my backhand form. So trying to say definitively that this does this compared to that is hard to do. And I try to be honest with you guys as much as possible. And it was really hard for me to really flush out the differences between these two molds in flight. It seems, though, that the Culverin has a little bit more high-speed stability to it, so it doesn't turn quite as much during the beginning portion of the flight, but a very similar amount of fade and hookup at the end of the flight. Similar amount of glide. I would say maybe the Convict glides just that little bit more. I do kind of feel like it feels a little bit better in my hand. I like the feel of the top there as it lines up, and I like that little bit more flexibility to this particular Lucid disc rather, compared to my Opto Culverin. They're both really great. Honestly, I feel like if you're in the market for a straight, stable fairway driver, something you know is not going to flip over on you accidentally, but is also going to get a lot of nice straight line flight with a predictable fade, I would check out both of these. If you have the chance to handle both of them, go with whichever one feels better in your hand. Or if you're like me and you're a fan of Paige Pierce, I'm just going to end up probably throwing the Convict in my bag instead of the Culverin, just because I'm a fan of Paige and I can support her and have it in the bag, and they ultimately fly very similar. So let's take all that out of the equation as far as comparing the two of them. That's the best I can do, is that I feel like the Convict has maybe a little bit more of a straight flight up to speed with a similar fade, where the Culverin doesn't stand up quite as much. But it's also hard to say between two, based on only two individuals. So let's take all that out of the equation. Let's just talk about the basic flight of this disc. It is a great straight line flyer that always has a dependable fade to it. This is the kind of disc that almost any skill level could get a usable, accurate golf flight out of. Even if you have a bigger arm, Paige Pierce, again, puts a tremendous amount of snap on a disc. And I had my buddy Andy out testing with me, and he has a bigger arm than me. He's able to just throw this thing super straight with that nice little fade at the end. For me, it's a little bit more overstable. It's something that I can throw more for fairway distance hyzers and nice, smooth, low hyzer shots, or something that I want to go very straight to have that nice fade at the end to kind of bend around the corner at the last second. It's a great disc for that. It's just a super trustworthy workhorse, straight, stable distance disc or fairway disc. It's definitely a far-flying disc, even though it might be considered a fairway. It's not a super high-speed disc. It definitely still flies quite far and has a lot of use out there on the course. So I really like the Convict. I think it's a great mold. I think just about any player could get use out of this thing. That is my review. Thanks again to DD. I will check you guys later. Cheers.